Hello, guys. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Whenever you're watching this, welcome to Fathers Are Important. It's your Vice President, Steve Thompson III here, and we talking about parent alienation. I got a very, very, very special guest, very special announcement. I'm so excited. Please stay tuned, keep watching, tell a friend, tag a friend. Let's go. Let's get these invites. Let's get it started. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. I hope you're excited because I know that I am. And let's do it. Just give me 30 seconds to set up real quick, and we're gonna get right to it. Fathers are important. If you know some fathers are important, if you know some fathers out there, if you know anybody there in parent alienation, you know, just anyone with kids, please share this. You know, we're trying to raise awareness of parent alienation, what goes on, what goes through mom's head, dad's head, because you know, there's moms being alienated, their dad's being alienated, and you know, we gotta break the cycle. We want to bring awareness. We want to help bridge the gap between moms and dads to have children have happy lives with both parents. So, guys, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Here we have the amazing Yana. Welcome, welcome, welcome. 30 seconds. Sorry, guys. Almost done. Okay, 1 second. All right, guys. Yana. Hello, Yana. Welcome, welcome. It is an honor to
Hello
talk to
there.
you. How are you?
Yeah, the honor is all mine. I hadn't talked to you till now, like this way, that we can see each other properly.
I
So I'm
know.
very glad to be here. Thank you
I'm
for having
I'm
me.
just honored for you staying up late. I know you're in a different time zone, and despite everything, your
It's good.
support is phenomenal from overseas. You know, I watch you. You speak multiple languages, and you know, just helping people, and especially your father-daughter relationships, which I think are beautiful.
Mm,
You know, watching my sister and my father didn't have the best relationship, so you know that's something meaningful to me. I always said, you know, want to make sure they have a strong relationship, and I can see how you know I have friends that had you know strong fathers-daughter relationships, and I can see the difference that it made in their lives. But tell everyone
mm,
who you are and what do you do.
yes. Well, my name is Jana, and I currently live in Germany in the same little city I was born. That is in the northern part of Germany. If somebody is a little bit familiar with Hanover or Berlin, I'm just in the middle, in the upper part of the country, so the weather is not always super nice.
It must be
Uh,
cold.
yes, sometimes it is, and but the thing is that I was raised in Spain, in the Mediterranean part of Spain, so in southern Europe, which is a very different culture. And that's why I was blessed with living in an environment where I spoke different languages from early on. So it just is natural to me to switch to Spanish, or, well, later I learned English pretty much by myself because in school I didn't have any. We learned French in school back then with the old
I
school
must say
system
your
we had in
English
place.
is beyond perfect. I wouldn't have told that maybe if it wasn't even your second language. Like I'm really like so clear, you know, no accent. Like it's really amazing.
It's you're super flattering. You're too kind. No, I must say that I love languages very much, and I know I'm naturally gifted with it, so it wasn't that much of an effort for me to learn. But I'm a perfectionist. I love words. I love hearing people talk. I love, the magic of words and how they are ingrained in a culture and how you feel different, even saying a word in a translation, and it just doesn't feel the same if you say the word in English or you say it in German. So yes, I put a lot of effort, I must say, because I wanted to have a decent English to be able to communicate like with pretty much everybody early on. So that's what I did, you know, watching all the sitcoms I could, all the movies I could, everything in English till it was better. So it seems like it worked
So
for a bit.
let's start with what language did you learn first, and then how many languages do you
Um,
speak?
yes, and I'm just gonna say it. If somebody's watching this later and they think, oh my God, she's so full of herself, you know, you're gonna see where this leads to and why we're talking about the languages. So it's not just to tell you, oh, I speak multiple. Well, it wasn't my fault, you know. So I was born in in Germany, and yeah, and until I was 3 years old, all I spoke was German because this is where we lived, and all my family was German. And then when I was 3 years old, which is back in the 1900s, let's say, um, we went to live, yeah, we went to live in Spain, in the Mediterranean coast. So just to locate me, it was maybe pretty near to Barcelona on the Mediterranean Sea. So, and on the upper part also, if somebody's familiar with Spain. Um, so then there I had to learn Spanish. I had to learn the regional official language they have in that part of the country, which is called Catalan, where the capital of this region is Barcelona. And we have two official languages. So Spanish and Catalan are both official, are taught in school all the time. So I needed to learn that one too. And then I was forced, so to speak, to learn French in school. And later on, when I was like 19, I said, well, I need to learn English because this is very embarrassing. Everybody in my summer job speaks English. You know, the Dutch people communicate in English, the Germans do. And I can't speak anything. I just understand like 3 words that I learned maybe listening to music. So I learned it the best I could. And that's how it happened, actually, quite naturally,
So you speak
by
four
living in
languages.
places. Yes, those I speak very good or good. And there is a few more that I kind of understand a lot, but I can't speak, but it's because they're quite similar. So Italian, I go quite easily, but I can't speak it well. But that's just because of practice and listening, and because in Europe you're close by to places where the language changes all the time. So I guess, and because I like it, I mean, I pick it up quite quickly. I'm very bad with numbers, but I'm very good with languages. So,
Well, I know like so like English or not English, Spanish, Italian, and French. They have the same Latin roots. A lot of words are similar, and they call those the languages of love,
yes,
which are the easiest languages to learn. You know, me, I know a little
yes.
bit of Spanish myself, and
Mm.
I just, you know, I have a lot of friends in the neighborhood, you know, from Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and you know, I pick up and I'll
Oh,
try to
I
learn as
love
much as
this.
possible. Try to, you know, learn through music and TV shows, and I'm pretty conversational, but not as good as you. But you know, like, so it's like, what I want to say, what pushed you to that level to like, I aspire to like, I want to get better, like at English. You're 19 years old. Most 19-year-olds are not thinking about like, I need to learn this language. Like, what clicked in your head to say, I need to
Um,
learn.
because let's say I think I wasn't a common child. I mean, I didn't have a common childhood and I didn't have a common adolescence. I kind of was a very late developer, so I wasn't into the things majority of kids were into. I was very active intellectually more than other things. I loved dancing. I was trained in dancing, so all the activities I did were a lot with concentration and discipline and had to do with me working on myself, not so much in a team sport or anything that made you look popular. I wasn't really popular when I was a kid or when I was a teenager at all.
What do
So
you
yeah, I
consider
was
popular?
bullied. Yeah, no, I was bullied at school quite early on, then that stopped. And so I had to learn quite quickly that things weren't, that 2 and 2 wasn't always 4 in life. So that hard lessons could come very quickly. And then I developed so late that I wasn't into boys because no boy was into me because I looked like a little child. So,
I'm
which
so
is interesting. Really, I mean, if you're 15 and you look like a 12-year-old that is totally underdeveloped and is still like a little girl, no boy will look at you who is going through puberty. So you know, you more have friends that talk to you, but you're not on that spectrum of the popular girls they want to go out with, because it wasn't even on my radar. So that was kind of good, because being a fatherless daughter and sometimes a bit needy of attention, it was good that I didn't get that type of attention too young. You know what I mean? So that was quite good to maintain me, you know, in a safe space where I could take my time for things. But I was quite nerdy, so I was quite a good student, and I love languages. So when I started working every summer, when other kids went on vacation, I was mostly working, because in my family they just had a work ethic, and they said, well, you want money, you know, get a job, go get a job. So at 15, 16, 17, every summer we had 3 months summer vacation in Spain.
Three
That's what they
months?
have in all 3 months. In Spain, you don't go to school in summer. You just don't go. It's too hot.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the culture. So then you have time, you know, to look for a summer job. And as I grew up in a very touristic place where we have a really huge tourism industry, and people from all over Europe and the world come to vacation there because it's a very beautiful place. They always needed young people who would speak multiple languages, and I could speak Spanish and Catalan and French and German. So they always took me on because I could talk to the tourists and sell stuff and whatever. And then I saw that most people spoke English and I didn't. So I felt like that I needed something so I could do better at what I was doing. And because I love people and I love communicating, I felt like I had a disadvantage, and I almost felt ashamed in certain situations that I couldn't speak English, which was the foreign language most people would go with, but not me. And then I said, Mom, why did I not pick English when they gave me the choice at 14? And she said, well, you were so ambitious, you wanted to perfect your French, so you didn't switch. You said you would gonna, you know, stick to the French till you had a good level. So yes, that's what I did. So I didn't speak any English. I said yes, no, I know what, you know, what sun means, or drink, or water, but I couldn't speak anything. Yeah, it was hilarious.
I wouldn't believe you if you told me that now.
Yeah, so then I actually began learning English by listening to people all day. And I did that for 3 summers till I was 19. And then I said, well, now I've heard enough. I'm going to start talking, because I think it's quite easy. I might be able to just, you know, communicate on a very simple level. And I did, and people understood me. And then I saw, compared to German, it was pretty easy to learn on a basic level, which it is. German is way more complex. It's still a pain in the butt today. I mean, it's the language I do worse, actually. But people don't notice, but I know, because I never went to a German school. I don't have any academic training in German, but I do in Spanish. So yes, I put an effort in it. I did one intensive course at university at 20 that went for a few months, like 4 hours a week, very intensive, with native teachers from the UK, from Ireland. It was good. So there I learned the grammar, to write better. I could, you know, learn better conversation. And the rest was on my own, by talking to people and by watching very ridiculous TV shows from America, like Desperate Housewives or Weeds, or I watched it all, you know.
That's so rare, because it's like where I'm from, like where we live, it's like most people, like, you pretty much speak one language. So
Yes. Look, Arcadio's asking.
I know. I'm gonna hold on. Give me 2 seconds.
Yes. To be a
Let's
part of
start.
this.
I'm sorry. What's the first question? It says, how long have Yana been working with fathers and alienated kids?
Well, what I do, I forgot to say that. We went so excited with the
I know I
languages
was gonna
thing that
get
I
to that point.
forgot.
I was gonna get there after.
Yes. For the people who don't know me, on my profile, you can see that. If you maybe, take a look at Diana Herde Coaching, which is my profile, you can see it like up there. I help and coach and support fathers who need to, let's say, rebuild their father identity, especially when they need healing. And then I can bridge them to their daughters again, especially in cases where alienation took place or they haven't seen their daughters in years, maybe, like it was my case with my dad. I'm a fatherless daughter as well. Or really in very difficult divorces, maybe, where the father says, oh my God, the relationship has suffered so much that I can't connect anymore, or that I really, the bond has suffered a lot. So that is what I do. I build
So you only do daughters?
customized.
You don't work with sons?
Sometimes I work with fathers who have sons and daughters. And when it's more about giving advice in a certain direction, sometimes it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. It depends a bit on the father and what he needs. But I'm, of course, more specialized on father-daughter dynamics because I know the whole part of the fatherless daughter very well from firsthand and from several cases in my family. So it's always been a thing. I'm not the first generation who's fatherless in my family, so there has been multiple cases before me. That's why I knew that it was a pattern that needed to be stopped and transformed and broken at some point. Otherwise, it will go on. It's like a family legacy that doesn't stop if nobody's conscious enough to say, look, I got to work on this because this is not good. I'm not doing any good. Yes, so how long? I mean, I have to say alienated fathers are the fathers that I have had less experience with in terms of time, because the parental alienation issue, to be honest, wasn't that much of a term to me till quite recently, because people don't talk about it that often in public or in normal social relationships that you maybe have with people. So I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know that it was a thing in so many countries till I met many, many fathers on social media and I started to see. And when I decided to go online with my work, which I didn't before, I was mainly working offline, so I didn't have a projection on the internet. And I decided to do that last March, quickly after the first lockdown started, to use that time to transform and to say, look, it's now or never. I'm just going to do this. Otherwise, if a father needs my help, how will he find me if I'm not out there for people to see me? And one of the first people I saw that were talking about parental alienation very openly and with a huge, huge community was Alan Donovan from Fathers Lives Matter. Yeah, and my profile was new. I had almost no followers, but somehow, because I was very active, he saw me and he invited me to his podcast very early on, which I'm very grateful for, because he said, well, a woman doing this type of work, this is very unusual. Why are you actually doing this? I want to know.
Yeah, that was rare.
Yes. So I went there and then I saw Fathers Are Important one day. And I said, oh, this is live. I'm going to go, listen. So I listened to the Fathers Are Important show with Arcadio for months, like religiously every Friday. It was my thing. I said it even to people in my posts, like, what's the event every Friday? If you want to know about this, you need to be there. That's the show to be.
Even despite your time zone difference? Like, was it that hard? Like, what time was it in the morning when probably?
It was always 1 a.m. in the morning. So I was minimum up till 2 a.m., sometimes a bit later, if Arcadio took it a bit longer or did 2 sets like of an hour. But it was just worth it. And I could meet amazing people. And this is the first time, with Alan Donovan and then with Arcadio, it was the first time I saw that you could actually go live on Instagram. I didn't know that feature or that you could do this.
Oh, wow. No?
So, yeah. So I saw and I said, oh, if he can go live, maybe I should go live so people also know what I do. Why not? So then I did. So that's why I always say, Arcadio, that's where I got the idea by seeing you do this. I said, oh, if he can talk about this and share, which is so great, I should try too. And I like the message from the beginning because Arcadio is a father, because he has the experience, and because he has a very raw and authentic way of communicating. He's
Very
just
passionate.
himself,
Yes.
very passionate, because he really cares about that, and he really cares about people.
Hmm.
You can feel that he genuinely loves people and loves to share and to let people share, because he knows what kind of pain a father goes through. Um, and he's young, which I also love, because sometimes you hear a lot of older dads talk about the divorce and what they went through, but young fathers opening up about, look, I just had this child and the relationship is over and it's a total disaster. Not many young men actually want to talk about it that I know, because it's, it feels very bad to them to talk about,
You feel like
like, the
ashamed or like even
failure.
maybe even embarrassed, and
Yes, yes. So I liked it very much that he was very open about it and very direct and very raw. Like, you would talk to him maybe if you, I don't know, would have a drink with him. So to talk about family, very normal. I like this very much. And
I
then I knew that, yes. And when I knew that he also understood Spanish and that he's um, Puerto Rican as well, I said, oh, I love this because I love Puerto Rico. I have friends on the island. I, I spent 3 months there once, was the best 3 months of my life, like, ever. And plus, I'm just going to tell you guys, I had a Puerto Rican boyfriend for like a year. That's why I was on the island, and his family was awesome. I could see a lot of know many people on the island, travel the island, and know the people. And it's still one of my best friends that I have. He's always liking my stuff and in touch with me. And
that's
I just love Latin American people. I know many.
that's just beautiful. Like, because I also met I used to follow Alan Dolan's page when I first was like going through parent alienation. I didn't really know much. Usually I like Google problems to see like so like hashtag parent alienation, and his page popped up. Then I would watch him like go live here and there. And then I think I looked it up again and I saw Arcadio's page. And then like, he like I followed the page and then he like wrote me immediately. I kind of thought it was a fake page. I was so paranoid that I thought like every page was a fake page. So he's like, "Oh, do you want to be on a show, podcast?" And I'm like, "Is this a setup or something?" Like that's how paranoid and weird I was. And then like, he called me, we talked on the phone. We found out we're from the same state and then even from like the same city, which is like really close, so it was rare. I was able to
Yes.
tell but the way he was from just by the language he used. So he was like impressed with
Yeah.
that. Because certain places where you live use certain slang for certain
Yeah.
things. So it was pretty cool. And then my first time actually watching the show, I think you were there. You were on the show.
It can be, yeah.
So like it was amazing because you were on the first episode of Fall is Important that I saw it, and I thought that was just like beautiful. Like I was like okay, and I was like that fact that you stayed up late, that you're overseas, and I saw you on
Yeah.
Alan Donovan's page as well, and I was like just watching your page here and there. I was just like, especially your father daughter, I think that relationship is very very important. I have a daughter, she's 2 years old. She's also
Okay.
well, the mother of my kids, she's Puerto Rican, so my kids are
Mm.
I'm African American, so they're African American and Puerto Rican as well. So I do also love Puerto Ricans in the culture. So,
Yes, very much so. I mean, I always say this, I don't care where people are from because I just see people as people, basically.
mhm.
Um, but of course, I mean, being raised in Spain, it's actually where the whole Latin thing kind of comes from, mixed up with all the other cultures that were mainly, in the American continent. So now you have all these interesting mixes and people. Um, and I mean, I grew up in Spain. When I was at university, I had friends that joined our university that were from Venezuela, from Colombia, from Cuba, even. My stepfather, who came into my life quite late, when all my childhood development was already pretty much done. That's why, I mean, he's a very lovely man. I love him to death, but a very kind stepdad he was. But it's kind of, the fatherlessness wound never goes away because the development without a father figure was already done pretty much. So, but he's from Argentina and he knows many people that are from Latin American countries too. And then I had this boyfriend who happened to be from the Caribbean, and I met so many people. Yes, and I love dancing, so I've been on so many dance events and stuff where you can, yeah, of course, dance with people and enjoy the music. I love music. So that's why I can relate very much to Latin American people too. And the Puerto Rican experience, I must say that it was very, very enriching for me. And this is, yeah, it's just an anecdote. I can tell you guys another time. It's very interesting why I know so much classical Puerto Rican music, because I had somebody to teach me in a very peculiar situation, actually, where I got to learn things. And I love learning about just random subjects. And that's why I also found Fathers Are Important very interesting when Arcadio had the idea and said, look, could you maybe, be an addition to this whole project and,
Yes.
help us with your languages? Because why aren't we, getting to the Spanish-speaking people or to German people? Because this is a global problem. This is not only an American or a German. This is a global thing, which is so frightening because nobody talks about it in the news, but it should be a matter of urgency to solve
Yeah.
something that is
Actually,
damaging families, children, fathers. I mean, it is like that is the real pandemic, to have broken families
mhm.
and children that are growing up
Yep,
without a
alienated.
safety net and alienated and with additional pain even on being fatherless. Um,
So
so I said yes because I like the project. I identify completely with the idea. And I know that Arcadio doesn't just have the idea of this little podcast here or just sharing. He has big dreams and big goals,
oh yeah,
and he wants to make a movement. And I know this is what you want too. You guys want to
yes.
reach a lot of
I'm
people.
usually
And
like, so it's funny because he had asked me as well, and like I'm very shy. Like I'm always been a behind the scenes person. So talking is just like,
yeah,
what? You want me to talk? Like we have ideas, and I'll like bring up points, and I'm like, oh, we could prove like every episode I watch it, and I would like give improvements on like what he did good, and this, we could perfect this, and like, I'm always behind the scenes. So he's like, hey, would you mind hosting? And I'm like, you want me to talk? So, I thank him because
yeah,
he pushed me out of my comfort zone to talk. So like now I can't shut up. Now I'm like talking all the time. And I really thank him for that because he broke like kind of like my shell, like get me out of my comfort zone. And, hearing these stories and, being on this platform and it just shows like the difference. And I see sometimes he's like working till like 3 o'clock in the morning and like nonstop and calling people, like personally calling, having phone conversations with people he never met. And I admire that
yes,
about him, like being so ambitious. And
mm,
I feel like
yeah,
and I'm grateful for it because if I wasn't going through like what I was going through and research what I researched, I would have never met him. We have so many similarities, so many common, factors. When I'm upset about something I'm going through, I'll call Arcadio and like he'll calm me down and like, it's okay, bro. Like, and vice versa. Like, so it was like we became like, a brotherhood through something, through our pain. Our pain brought us together, brought us to each other. And if we were never experiencing this pain, we probably would have never met. Me, you probably would never be here right now. So it's just amazing how like the domino effect of things can happen. And
no,
then
absolutely.
I thought like, meeting you and like seeing you and how passionate you were, you're always on every episode, every show. And I was like, I'm like, yo, she would be amazing to the show. And I'm like, we speak only English, we could get to anyone who speaks English, but I'm like, you speak multiple languages, you could maybe get out to more people in the languages that we don't speak that so it's like, I was like, let's ask her and see what she says. And I'm just happy you said yes. Like, I'm just like I was just got so excited. I'm like jumping. We're like jumping, like, and it's just like it
Oh,
was just an honor. Like
really?
it's just like you see the vision, like, and we coming together, like, and it's just growing. Like, we kind of like a family. So it's just amazing. Like I'm just so happy. I guess.
Thank you. No, thank you guys. I mean, for coming up with the idea. Um, and of course, I thought about it at first because I said, I mean, I have like a rule, which is that I usually don't do business or projects with people I don't want to eat with. So it needs to be, yeah, it really is. I mean,
No,
that's
as you
something
should.
for me.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, it's something for me very, very important. So Arcadio has, I'm gonna, yeah, this is for you, Arcadio. Take it seriously because I know about these things. Wow. Yeah, I'm super proud. No, but I know how people can struggle for a lifetime because, like I have been doing my whole life, because that was just the way I was built, we overthink stuff. We're overly intellectually stimulated. We can't stop this thing here, this theater moving. So sometimes we pray when we're very young, where things are sometimes even worse and you suffer much more, that you can shut this down for a few minutes, and then you envy people who just do things without overthinking, and that's why they're usually quite successful with the outcome, because if something goes wrong, well, they just look for a solution, they do it, they don't blame themselves all the time. And of course, yeah, it's your character. Sometimes you say, oh, I'm so sorry, or so I know Arcadio is a very humble guy. So if he feels sorry because he thinks he did something wrong or he could do better, he will always tell you. He doesn't hide it. But he doesn't overthink that much. That's why he can just tell you, oh, just go and talk, just try, because he knows that he also does things because he just does try. He doesn't think it over for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
That's at
I
least
know.
how I read him, and that's awesome. It's an awesome quality,
I
and we
definitely
need
agree.
more people like this.
And it's like contagious too. Like he's like on go. Like he comes up with an idea and he's like, 30 seconds, he's like has a whole project with it and it's already done. And I'm just like, you just talked about that this morning. Like, and it's like I just love like it's just so contagious. It gets me to go. I'm like, oh, I want to interview this person, and now I'm going asking people like, ooh, do you want to be on the show, and talking to more people and just bringing awareness and try to bring traffic to the page. And so it was just like
Mm,
it's just amazing to see him work, and then being around it like contagious. And it's just like
it
wow, like
is.
and it's like it's not common. Like it's really, especially where we live.
No.
It's like the opposite where we live. Like it's like dads are giving up. They're not trying to fight for their kids. They don't want to deal with the arguing, the back and forth. They're like it was a cop. He told the dad. He said, "Why are you crying over this kid? Like go make a new kid. Then you can see the kid because you don't got to deal with her." Like that's the
But
like that.
this is terrible. This is terrible, right?
It's just bad, and it's just like, what about that kid? Like, how's that kid gonna grow up? How's that gonna impact that
Yeah.
kid? How's that gonna affect that kid? How's it gonna affect the dad? And then even the mom, like I'm sure she may need financial help. She didn't have that kid by herself,
Mm,
so it
mm.
hurts everyone. And like I don't want to bridge the gap. And I loved his page too because it wasn't like a page, but like some pages I see like just bashing moms all day, but his page was
Oh,
more
this
like
I don't like. I
bridging the
mean,
gap.
it's the thing that I always need to be. I was very clear about that when I first started my profile. That I mean, I'm a lady who has no problem at sitting on a table with maybe with just men who are joking about women. I really, honestly don't care. I sometimes just laugh along if I find it funny. I know that you can have humor and at the same time have a lot of respect and have boundaries. Um, I don't like mothers who get triggered by things I say just because they take everything personal. And there is something wrong with you and your perception if you take everything somebody posts in a personal manner and you cannot even differentiate that, this person might be talking in general or might be talking about a phenomena that happens to many people, but it doesn't need to be you, or that I'm not posting to offend them personally. But if people feel triggered and offended because um, you're putting things into perspective, I mean, with me, they have tried, but they don't do it that often because I guess they see I'm a mother too. So they get like the wrong person, because I know why I say this when I say that some women just don't try to co-parent at all. It's because I've known women firsthand, secondhand, then I hear them all the time. Um, I also know a mom, which was mine, who didn't alienate me at all, but I had a father who didn't care. So I also know that side. And I won't excuse a father who just doesn't care, who just has different priorities all the time that justify him not calling his daughter, which is something,
Yeah,
honestly, everybody can
birthdays,
do.
holidays, and that's why I say bridging the gap because his mom's being
That's
alienated,
it.
his dad's being alienated, his mom that don't care, his dads that don't care, and like it affects and impacts the kid, and like making a difference. And I don't want to be like
That's it.
here bashing the woman I had kids with because at the end of the day, that's still the mother of my kids. If my kids watch this video in
That's
the
it.
future, I won't be upset because they're not.
Yeah.
So it's like. At the end of the day, that's still 50% of the other kids. So like me dissing the
Yeah.
mother of my kids is like dissing the kids. And then I
Yeah.
also want the I'm sorry. I also want my, I love this woman at one point in time. Like, I can't, I'm not gonna act like, oh, just because we're not together anymore, like, I should still have a certain level of respect. And,
Mm.
she's with my kids right now. So it's like, and vice versa. Like, just, we can't act off our emotions. And I feel like it's just hard. It just sucks. It just sucks. Like, that's why we're here.
It
We
does.
want to raise attention to
It
parent
does.
alienation, get dads, moms, people who are away from the kids, reunited with their kids, and just bridge that gap. And that's why I
Oh,
love this
that's
platform
amazing.
without being
That's
negative. Like
amazing.
without being negative.
Yeah, I mean, and when you have people that bash mothers all the time, it often comes from anger. And when you post things like a line of posting that seems like your philosophy that is always based and comes from build up anger, you cannot create anything positive. You just are gonna, maybe get a lot of friends who have the same opinion because they're all angry, and that might be useful to vent a little time. But after a certain while, you say, well, but what do you really want to do with this? So I don't really like pages where some men just bash women all the time, because honestly, many women really do the best they can and try to be good mothers, and maybe they don't know how to manage the failed relationship. And I've made mistakes too. That's the thing. I think women might have it difficult with my content sometimes because they don't know where to attack me, because I've been a single mother, I've been divorced, I know what it is not to get any child support, although you would have needed a little bit of help. I was fatherless myself, so it's like I have been through so many things that I know quite well what I'm talking about. So
And
it's difficult
it just
to
amazes me
trigger
that
me.
you're not like, angry or like bitter. Like you're just so positive. Like, it's like, what made you say like, all right, I'm not gonna be, maybe say a bitter baby mother, or I'm not gonna be angry at the world, and it even inspire you to what you do now. So like, can you tell us a little more
Mm,
like about that?
yes, this is very, very important for people, I guess, to know, to understand why I actually do what I do. I have had the question multiple times where people say, you're a fatherless daughter. Why don't you coach the fatherless daughters like you? You should have the most empathy for them because they lost the dad too. So why don't you have a coaching program for that? It would fit. And I said, yes, it could. But somehow I was gifted with the ability to build very good connections with men. And I've always done that. Even as a little girl, I did very good playing with boys too. When I was a teenager, as I told you, that I wasn't really the target to want to date me or anything till quite late, but I had a lot of boys talking to me, like a buddy. So I knew more maybe about them than their girlfriends, because they would talk to me about normal stuff. Um, and I never had a difficulty really with guys. Um, I have a lot of friends that are men. I love working with men, and I guess they know that I like them a lot as men that they are. I just like them and respect them very much, because I didn't have a father who would teach me how good men are if they're balanced and happy and know what their purpose is, and just are well rounded. Of course, with defects, everybody has them, nobody's perfect, but I didn't have it, so I had to rediscover that not all guys or not all dads were like my dad. I had to revise all my false beliefs that I learned, all the biased views that I had on men, on fathers, on divorce, on family. Until I was even over 20 years old, I thought honestly that most dads didn't miss their children that much. I thought that for a father, it wasn't such a big deal to live without their kids, because that's what I saw in my family. My father didn't care. My sister's father cared about her and maintained the relationship even on a long distance, but he didn't bother to visit her more often. He didn't pay child support. He didn't really take full responsibility. He also let the work to my mother, and trusted just that she would do it good. And whenever he had the time or he felt it was good, fitting his schedule, then he just came and visited her or took her with him a few days. But it was always when he had the time. It was more like a grandfather, you know, that loves
Did
his
did
grandchild
he
to
work?
death.
Did he work?
Yes, he did, but
Well, he
he
just did.
just, you know, he just didn't take the responsibility. Like, look, a child is a 24/7 job. You cannot only have the good moments, but then when it gets ugly or you're tired, you just give it back to the mother. That's what a granddad can do, but not a father. With all due respect, I
No,
mean,
no,
and that's
I agree.
so. Can you imagine me as a kid growing up? That's what I saw that men did. They didn't take responsibility. They didn't provide. They didn't really care to stay around. They didn't treat my mother with respect a lot of the time. Um, so I didn't have that model in my home. So I had to discover how men actually operate by friends that I had, by maybe an uncle that I saw very seldom because, you know, my family lived in Germany. We were the only ones in Spain. So I was very detached from every family member, very isolated. So I had to discover that late, but what I saw is that strangely, I had this view of fathers because that's what I learned, but I wasn't angry at men like as a whole because I saw that men were always nice and treating me with respect, and I had a lot of fun with my friends, whether it was male or female, you know, boys or girls. Um, and when I had my first relationships, of course, I saw when I got older that my relationships failed because I had a lack of self-worth, because I tried too hard, because I needed that overly, you know, that needed them to be very appreciative of me and to be approving all the time of what I did. I needed that validation constantly, which is not healthy, and it comes from fatherlessness. It's a big symptom of a big consequence of fatherlessness. So I made the decision consciously one day to say, look, I need to work on this because otherwise I'm going to mess it all up and it's going to be too late and I'm going to raise my children wrong, or I'm going to end up as a single mom myself. And I actually did, but it was already when my child was born and I saw that my marriage was going badly. But then I said, okay, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to be with her safe, but I'm never going to tell the dad not to be there. I want him always involved, and I always did. And I need to work on myself so I don't transmit to her all of those biased ideas and false beliefs so she doesn't end up in the same mess. And that's what I'm doing, and I think I'm being successful at it because I see her develop now, and it's much different than what I had to go through.
Yes,
And she
breaking up.
understands differently. Yeah,
Breaking
and
up.
it takes work. It takes work. So later when I decided that I wanted to coach, I did that for a few years, and I was always like a very empowering coach, like looking out for people's talents, and I was a very huge motivator, like looking for the blind spots and making people shine and transform. That's what I did either way. But then I said, you know, there's something that isn't quite right because I feel there is still something that I have as a gift and experience that I could give to the world that would make a major impact, because every human being has something that makes him unique that he can transmit out there. So I started to think. I went to a few events where coaches were there, you know, networking and stuff and learning stuff. And I met this lady coach from Switzerland called Claudia Conradi. She's also here on Instagram. And she specialized in helping coaches find their core issue. Exactly what I
I might have
needed.
to
So
visit her.
yeah, so I actually met her in person, and then I took on her coaching program, which was a very extensive 5-figure program that I took on and paid for, even though I didn't know where the money would come from. But I said, you know, I just need to invest in this because that's the person. And then we found out already in early stages of the development that it was the fatherlessness issue that I was actually an expert on, because I had spent so many nights of my life without sleeping while my daughter was in bed, researching, learning, you know, being on podcasts on Eastern time at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 4 o'clock in the morning, listening to so many people. So I had spent years of my life as a single mother instead of going out and being with adults, I was at home on the computer learning and researching and watching hours of material, because I needed to learn and like reframe myself, like reparent myself to be able to understand what had happened to me. So she said, look, you're an absolute expert on this, and you should focus on that, because that, you know, she said she had goosebumps when I said, look, so many men talk to me and want advice about their daughters. And she said, well, that's no coincidence. They somehow feel that you might know. So then I started very quickly. It was amazing. So it came very quickly that it's like I received material, I don't know from where, and I wrote it down, and then I started to go online more. And then I started having my first online clients that were not offline. And I saw that every dad was so different that I needed to customize the whole material for every single father.
So that's like why I work like different types of dads and different types of relationships.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a dad that like has a young daughter?
It depends on what his issue is. What is his issue? Doesn't he live with his daughter? How old is she?
They're separated from him and his wife or girlfriend separated.
So I would need to talk to him first. So I always schedule a Zoom call with this person. I ask a few questions to know how he feels, where he's at, what his desire is, desired outcome, or what he wants to better. And to also see if he needs a lot of help for himself first, because mostly fathers are sadly broken in their father identity, and they have been neglected in that department of their being so long. They have been hiding it, they have been closing it up in a box, not talking about it, because it's an ugly thing to talk about. People don't want to know about fathers that don't see their kids. They always assume they're not interested. But if a mother says, I don't see my kid, then everybody's like super compassionate. But with a dad, it's an ugly topic. People,
double standard.
It is. So they need to trust me. And I actually notice quite quickly in the conversation if the chemistry is good, so I could work with this dad and help him or not. And then I think about what he needs. And usually, quite in the same conversation, I can tell him what kind of a program I recommend, if it's a 1-month mentorship or 3 months in a row or half a year, to be like a constant supporter. If it's like an emergency program, because a dad needs constant support because he's feeling so low that he might get depressed if he doesn't get me checking in every 2 days. Those are the alienated dads. Those are the worst in the early stages of alienation, where everything's very confused, like what is happening to me. I developed kind of a skill to build like an emergency support program for them. I tried it a few times already with clients, and it was quite successful. I was very happy about the result. I got good feedback. So this is how it came about, and I love doing it. And I have this special connection to men. I mean, I always say it sounds like a joke, but they actually trust me because they know I like men.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you're not against us. I wanted to get back to Arcadio's question earlier. You know, he said, how do you feel that your skills could benefit fathers are important?
Oh, of course, very simple. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I know from a mother's perspective, and I have the same goal. I want to raise awareness. I want to give people a voice. I want to let people speak. And I want to let people know that we are here to help, and that I'm here to help too, if somehow father might need this kind of help. And of course, with my language skills, I can help a lot so we can have a wider audience of people who might be very interested in this, but just can't understand what we're talking about because of the language barrier. So this is, I guess, a skill set that is always useful. And in this case, it can be super useful. And also, I'm quite persistent.
You're very consistent, your support, your fire, like you ready to go. Even I remember when we were supposed to start, I was supposed to start talking. We were supposed to, on my other platform, but I didn't really, I found it was hard. Like I couldn't dedicate the amount of time I wanted to dedicate to it be through the work and my consistent work schedule changing. So I was like, you even motivated me. You're like, come on, you got this platform. You gotta go talk to people. And, I'm like, who is this lady? Like, who is she? Like, and, I just admired your energy, like from there, like, and it's just like, wow. So it's like being an
Thank
honor working
you.
with you, working with Arcadio and, just seeing like the growth, seeing Chris, seeing Alan, and it's just like, this support. I was 18 when I had my first kid. I was in college. I was biology major, taking really hard biology classes, then going to court, like studying like hard science classes, then like preparing for court and stuff like that. It was like exhausting. It was hard. I was crying. Like I didn't talk to no one. I isolated myself from
Yeah.
friends. I didn't do nothing. I stayed in my room. I would watch Netflix. I would do homework and like prepare. I didn't talk to anyone. Like I isolated myself in the world. So like I kind of wish I had this kind of platform like when I was going through that kind of thing. So it's just
Mm,
like, so that's why, like,
yes.
affect me. I know how sad it was. I know how upset I was. And it was to the point where, like, I didn't tell anyone, like, about anything that was going on. Like, so, like, my friends, they pulled it out of me, they got to talk to me. They was like, wow, like, I couldn't believe you. Like, you're always so happy. And even, like, I worked at a restaurant. I worked at Burger King, upstate. And it was a lady. She was always happy. But like, I kind of could see through it because I guess I was going through the same thing. And I asked her, I said, why are you always so happy? Like, usually the people that's really always happy is, overcompensating for something. And, she was telling me how she was being alienated from her child, that she had two
Oh,
children,
that's terrible.
and her husband,
Terrible.
he had a new wife, and that
Mm.
she was really sad and crying because she said that he made the new wife, he made the kids call a new wife mommy.
Oh, no.
So it's like,
That's terrible.
so seeing like, it was like, wow, like, me going through what I'm going through, I could even sense emotions. So it's like that
Yeah.
part, it was just like, and I was like, wow, even women go through it too. And I see like, it really
Mm.
is upsetting, loving someone and not being able to have contact with them, not being able to talk to them. Even like, sometimes maybe your family, want to talk to them. Like, oh, I had my parents tell me they don't feel like grandparents because they don't get to see them enough.
Yes.
And,
So
that hurts my heart.
it destroys, yeah, it destroys all families, and it's just unnatural. And what I tell to people always is that I think have, the quotes that I post, it's always like my material. I don't copy them from anywhere, so they're all very personal, I guess, very freestyle, like my thing. And there is one I think I made up where I said that fathers that are in huge pain and crying because they miss their kids are so strong, really, that they still manage to go to a job, to be nice to people, and to act like people don't really know unless they ask or they know you a bit better, like in the private life you have. So that people underestimates fathers a lot, and what has become a tendency, sadly, is that fathers themselves underestimate themselves a lot. They don't know what they're capable of anymore if they get that little person there somewhere, even if it's online on the distance, that can, like, shine the light on their confidence again
Mhm.
and make them heal from all that and raise. So then they can, I always say, tap into your greatness, and then you're able to act on things differently and to go about the whole children thing differently. Once you can really do it because you're built up in a way. And if you can't because you're dealing with everything and then feeling so sad and alone, it's bad that there is not much platforms like this where fathers can see that they're not alone.
Yeah, it's like I seen like high depression, high suicide rate, and
Mm,
that made me like really want to get involved, made me really want to get to talk to people. Like, what if they knew that they weren't the only person going through this? Or what if they knew they weren't alone? So it's like that made me like, it made me really want to talk. I know how depressed I was. I wouldn't say I was like on that level, but I understand how sad it could make a person feel. And then,
mm,
day-to-day functions, times you don't want to get out of bed and, like
mm.
holidays, birthdays, that's the worst. Like, being alienated from your kid on holidays and birthdays. It's like, and it's just like, the parents that's doing the alienation. I'm like, how would you feel if the other parent like took the kid away for a birthday or a holiday? Like, how would that make you feel if, your kid couldn't see your friends or your family?
Mm.
so it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the worst thing, that often people ask those questions. They ask themselves, why doesn't she or he feel bad about it, but he can't, how would the other side feel, and how can they just do it without apparently bothering at all? Um, I think some of them even know, a part of them, not all, but some of those parents even know that what they do is not right, but they are so caught up in their own lies that they need to make up to feel good somehow, or that they matter. It's highly dysfunctional, and they have issues, because people that are balanced and happy don't have the need to do that, and to keep the kids only for themselves, to like validate them as good parents or the better parents. There is a lot of dysfunction going on. So that's why I love to help at least some fathers breaking cycles, because through them, if I help a father feel better and tap into his great father and man identity again and bridge to his daughter, then I help the daughter too. And if she has kids, then I help the grandkids too. So now it's like a domino
Generations, like each
effect.
one teach one, and like
Yes.
domino effect. You know.
Hmm.
Is there anything else you want to say? I don't want us to run out of time or cut off.
Yes. We have a few minutes. I'm just going to say that I love being here. I love being able to talk to you, like for
Yes.
an extended.
Oh, definitely. We're gonna be talking and
Uh,
working together a lot more. I know due to your time zone,
yes.
we're gonna like figure out a schedule. All three of us can like have meetings all the time, so we gotta work
Hmm.
that out. But I'm beyond excited like to have you, like just to work
Yeah.
with you, your energy, like not only
Thank
Arcadio but
you.
like also you. Like I'm just like wow, like you even motivated me to like want to perfect my Spanish, and I actually knew like a little bit of
Good.
Russian in middle school, so I had a really good teacher,
Oh,
and
that's super
we lost
interesting.
touch. But
Yeah.
so it's like I want to even tap into that, like learning that again. And
Yeah.
and I'm 26, so I'm like, if you're like 19, learning a whole new
You're super
language,
young. You're
you-
super young. Come on. The best is yet to come. Trust
exactly,
me.
you're 19,
You
started
don't you
learning
don't
a whole new
even
language,
know.
watching TV and listening to music. So it's like, if you can do it, like, what's
Yeah.
stopping me? Like, what? I'm
Of
gonna say I'm too
course.
old, like, so it's like being around that energy and seeing like someone do it, like, watching you do interviews in multiple languages. I'm like, who is she? Like, oh, like, that, and it's just that the passion that you both guys have is just like what drew me guys to you, because it's like, we see a part of ourselves in each other.
Mm.
So it's
No,
like,
it's good, and we just have something in common. It doesn't matter how old we are or where we grew up. I think with the same values and with the shared direction and motivation, you just get to places. And I always feel comfortable working with Americans. I really do, because you guys are brought up with certain things that in Europe, in Germany especially, people don't really think that way. So I like the positivity very much. I know this is going to be a lot of fun, very inviting to reach more people. And please, Arcadio, if you want to do like stuff with the logo of Fathers Are Important, I want a mug like this one, because I always drink tea
we got you.
with Fathers Are
We
Important
working on
on
that.
it.
We have a meeting about that later too today. So we working on it. We're gonna send you one
So please
personally.
think about those here, because for the people in cold countries, we always need the warm tea when we're talking to people. I need one of those. So thank you for everyone listening. If somebody is curious about what I do, because like, oh, who is she? We don't know her at all. Just jump to see what I do. You can leave me comments or say if you agree, if you like it, if you don't. And yes, he's dancing. I love. Thank you, Arcadio. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, for trusting me, for taking me on, and for suggesting it in the first place, because I
Thank
maybe,
you for
wouldn't
accepting it
have
and
thought about it.
honoring it. We just thought about growth and working together and teamwork. We
Yes.
live on the same mission, and I feel like if multiple people and also diversifying it, would make it a bigger platform, and like I said, raising awareness, and people could take it serious, and and like I said, it put
Mm-hmm.
us all closer together. So I'm just
Yes.
excited.
It
Like I'm
it will. Of course. Me too. Me
grateful,
too.
like
So
grateful.
I'll put the German punctuality on the table. So that's something I'm very German at. I love being punctual and organized stuff, which is great. But I can also tap when once I talk Spanish, things change. I don't care about some things anymore. And
Well, that's what we all gonna learn from each other and just improve and get to a better
yes.
level. I'm sure being a female, you growing up on the other side of the world, you can teach us things different from our point of views, and let's just do it. Let's change the world. Let's make
Yeah.
some noise.
You don't know. You guys don't know what you have done putting me here.
We
So,
know, we
you
know.
know,
We picked the right person. We picked the right one.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Have a good rest of the day. Me, I'm going to go to bed in about an hour. So thank you for letting me finish the day with you guys. I'm very happy to do this.
Thank you for staying up. Get some rest, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Of course.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Peace. That was the amazing Yana, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you guys. It was a great episode. Me, Arcadia, and Yana. All is important. Let's raise awareness for parent alienation. Don't give up. You got this. Stay strong. I love y'all. Over and out. Peace. Let's do this. Let's do this.